Hello, and a very warm welcome to another session of The Change Exchange, where we talk about the moments in life that change you and change your life. And with me, Kass Naidoo, sports commentator on television and radio, and mum of three. That sets up a life of changes.
It certainly does, and it has been a life of change. Certainly, it's good to be with you.
What did you want to be when you were little?
Well, at the age of 14, I walked past the TV and I heard a West Indian woman commentate on cricket. And I found myself glued to the television screen for about 6 hours. And I turned to my mom, I said, that's it. I'm going to become South Africa's first female cricket commentator.
Okay.
Yes, so it was, but before that, there was absolutely nothing kind of keeping me on the straight and narrow. And as soon as I hit that button and I knew what it was, I worked non-stop for over a decade. And as they say, when you're ready, things kind of pop into your life.
Yeah.
And Gerald de Kock resigned from SABC, and they needed a presenter to host the Cricket World Cup in 2003. So I debuted in the 2003 Cricket World Cup.
That's quite a big step up. But
Yeah.
before that, you started in print.
I started, it's good, I have a motto that I take the long road in everything that I do. So I knew when I left my studies at Tech that having not played the game, I needed to get credibility and so build a very solid foundation. And the first thing to do was to become a good journalist. So I went to the Mercury and I started as a vacation reporter, and I thought I'd have an easy life on the beach, but my first story was a murder on the Durban beachfront, which meant accuracy was so important. And I worked as a court and crime reporter.
And writing for a newspaper teaches you to write, teaches you to
Yes.
put the right words one behind the other.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
once got a call from a magistrate to say that I got the information wrong.
Oops.
And I never got a call like that again because I double check and triple check everything. But after a while at the Mercury and Daily News, I said, guys, I actually really want to be a commentator. So I'm going to leave and go to Johannesburg to follow my dream and see what happens. So
Did you have a job up
no.
here?
I didn't have a job. I went for an interview at the South African Press Association, and they said, well, come back, maybe we could use you.
We'll
So
call you.
We'll call you. But I moved to Johannesburg. I took up a position at the South African Press Association, and I covered the 1999 general elections. So I did everything from court to crime to politics, education, and finally got to 702 after 6 months at SAPA as John Robbie's producer. And he encouraged me. He said, go for it, but just become really good at what you do. There is no room for making mistakes here. I mean, this is a shot of a lifetime if you get it.
And because you are the first woman, people will be watching
Yes.
and waiting for you to trip up.
Absolutely. So I worked really hard at 702, knowing that being a good producer would take me to that next level. But again, you reach that glass ceiling when you know it's not really going where I need it to go. So I resigned and I went to SABC and became a producer. And I produced Kanye Dlomo's News at 7, the sports bulletins and all the news stories. And I learned how to edit stuff I didn't think I needed to know. And then Robert Marawa bumped into me in the newsroom and he said, aren't you the girl who wants to be a commentator? Because naturally I told everybody, anyone who wanted to hear it. And I said, yes. He said, well, you're in the wrong building. I need to take you over to sport. They need to meet you. So long story short, Martin Locke trained me and he said, you won't make it, just so you know. You will be average, satisfactory at best. But you've never played the game, so you won't make it. So I drove home that day crying, thinking, well, that's it, end of my dream. My brother said, but you're a Capricorn. You never listen to anybody. Why are you listening to this guy? You've done this for 11 years. You've worked so hard. So, pull your socks up and move on.
Can I just have a little sidebar there?
Yeah.
Why do we take on negative stuff so easily?
And not the positive stuff.
And we disregard the positive as that's the way it should be. But if someone says something negative, then you kind of hug it to yourself and you live with it.
Only quite
Terrible.
recently did I realize that it's a very bad habit. And that actually, why be modest? Rather just accept the good stuff. We accept so much of the negative stuff, and in the end we become it because we think so much and we are so much of it. So I forgot about Martin Locke and decided, well, actually, I really want to do this. So I kept training myself. And
How did you do that?
I watched a lot of cricket.
Oh.
I talked a lot of cricket. Everyone at home allowed me to talk cricket. But mostly I was so driven to prove everybody wrong. There was no way that I was not going to do it.
And there was never a moment while you were doing politics and you're doing other things that you thought, well, maybe being a more generalist journalist might be more interesting. You had your eye focused on this ball and this was the one you wanted to hit.
I was so obsessed. I still am. I even when I take a break from cricket, I watch cricket. So I'm properly obsessed. And I remember every day I try to learn something new. I try to do something new. And then I thought, well, nothing's going to happen. So I thought I was going to shave my head. So I shaved my head in November 2002. And 2 weeks later, I got a call to say that I'm hosting the Cricket World Cup in February 2003. Which I did not intend to be a skinhead on my debut on TV. So I very quickly tried to grow my hair into a very short style. So everybody thought that that was who she intended to be.
You were making a statement. Yes.
I wasn't. I was just trying to get some hair in my head.
Tell me about the first day, finally, in front of that camera, and or in the box, or where were you?
So the first day, I thought I was hosting the first match, but actually they needed me to host the breakfast show, the first show, the Cricket World Cup breakfast show. And as I was sitting there and reading the auto cue, it flipped out of control. And that was the end of the auto cue for me, for my career, because I decided that I will not use an auto cue.
You will not depend on it.
I will not. And I like being natural. I like talking. So as I sat there, I decided just to talk. So I don't use an auto cue, never did. And when I sat there, I realized I didn't really want to be a presenter. It wasn't a thing. I practiced with a brush in my hand. I wanted to be a commentator. So the presenting was something new that I needed to get into. And I loved the World Cup. They said, you will get a few games, but you won't get the final, because we've got a very experienced man, and he's here, and he'll get the final. So I said, no worries. Halfway through the World Cup, they said, well, actually, we're doubling the number of matches you have, and you've got the final.
Oh, man.
So I was like...
What was that like?
Amazing, amazing. Yes. Because still, people loved seeing a woman on the World Cup. There were people who were not so happy. And it got to me, as it does. You're brand new in the industry. And then my brother taught me a very nice trick. He said, go onto Google, Google yourself, read all the stuff, take what works for you, and toss what doesn't. And it was the early days of Google. So I found blogs over the years that had good things and bad things to say. But I never see things as bad. I always see them as learnings. Everyone sees life differently, and sometimes we may not see the things that need to be rectified, or sometimes we don't appreciate the good work we do.
Yeah.
So I've learned to take feedback over the last decade, and it's served me well.
But what I'm also hearing you say to young people who may be thinking, I want to be like that, we've all come across that, I want to do what you do, is learn. Take every step that you can along the way, even if it seems at that moment not to be leading directly to where you want to be.
Absolutely, and you're spot on, because my life is a life of learning. Every single day I try to pick up something new. My husband records, thankfully, records all my broadcasts, so when I get home I make a very strong cup of coffee and I go through, and I hate watching myself, but I realize that if I don't, there are little things we do that actually irritates a viewer. 75% of what viewers experience is what they see. So little hairs out of place,
licking your lips, swinging your hand around,
playing with a pen, silly things like that, or wearing the wrong shade of lipstick, which mostly the male viewers then send me Facebook messages. I really like you, but it's the wrong shade of lipstick. I allow people to.
But surely you don't change your lipstick every time you get a message.
No, but
like
I did on that day, because I did think it wasn't the right shade when I got on air. And then when I got that message, I have a very good and strong relationship with the social media followers on my various accounts. And generally they are well-mannered. And when they're not, they are put in their place firmly. But I like feedback. I think we can only grow from it. And if it's all about compliments, then everyone loves us and it's all lovely and we'll never grow.
But it's interesting, that relationship with your audience, because that is such an important thing, because you need to be literally on the same wavelength.
You do, and when I'm in the commentary box, I generally refer to their tweets. I ask questions to the commentators. I keep them very involved. I keep them as the fan commentator because I think it's important. And the kind of audience that we go out to, they're football fans, rugby fans, people who don't even like sport. And how do you make everybody feel comfortable? And that was the first reason why I fell in love with the sport. Is I was never interested in cricket, but here was a woman talking in the most powerful way to me. I felt like she was talking directly to me, that I wanted to be that for South Africa. And it was at a time where unity had just got into cricket, but we were still finding ourselves. So I like seeing myself as the glue. I like keeping people together in cricket.
You worked for Cricket South Africa. How did you experience that?
It was amazing. It was an incredible... I don't think if I went to study for a business degree that I would have come back with the kind of experiences that I did from there. Having worked as a commentator for the number of years that I did, when I got to CSA in 2008, I got a great opportunity to learn how to run an organization, to put on a cricket match, what happens all around that game. And now when I commentate, I have the most incredible insights, and I surprise myself by the things that I've picked up. It was a hard learning at the same time because I was the first woman to be a commercial manager at Cricket South Africa. One of the things that was said, she has to be upskilled, you've got to give her all the knowledge and training. And it never happened, so I taught myself and I learned on the way. And one of the biggest things that I hope that I achieved there was to black African women, to make sure that they have a firm voice and a firm say in what happens at CSA, and they're all still there. So I'm really, really proud of that. I think it's important that women stand by each other and help each other up, because it's a lonely place up there. You do need support, and then you do need that camaraderie.
How did you experience being a woman in what is so much a man's world?
I think it would have been different if I tried to compete with men. So I don't compete at all. I compete with myself, and I celebrate being a woman. I remember one day I was in the commentary box reading my Vogue magazine. I was filing my nails. I had a yellow t-shirt on, and a commentator walked in and he's like, "What has this become?" I said, "A beauty salon." And I think from that perspective, everyone just allowed me to be me. I got a lot of criticism in the early years from women who felt that we're not sure that we can take you seriously. The men, on the other hand, would be, "This is quite interesting. She has a view. Who is telling her to say that?" And a lot of people asked me in the early years, "Are they telling me what to say in your earpiece?" I said, "I wish they were, but they aren't." So I think, yeah, it's been such an interesting journey for me that I still feel like I've only just started. And it's been 20 years since I really got my foot in the door. And now in 2016, I feel a level of comfort in what I do.
You also started an online, almost in the same vein, a kind of online support. What do you call it?
G-Sport for Girls.
G-Sport for Girls.
Yes.
Online platform that profiles women and hosts an annual awards ceremony. Why did you begin that?
I was hosting a radio show at SAFM at the time in 2000 and between 2003 2006, and every woman I interviewed had a sad story of lack of support. Nobody gives them time, they can't grow their brands. And so my husband and I took a long walk one day, an 8K walk, and on this walk I said, we will find a way for women's sport going forward on this walk. We're going to come out with an idea. He's a lawyer, I'm with a firm interest in IT, and I'm a journalist, and at the end of the walk we came up with an idea that we're going to launch an online initiative to tell the story of women's sport in South Africa.
And how's it worked?
The first few years were horrible because the federations felt like we were policing them. Why are you calling? We don't have a women's department. There isn't a women's officer. I don't have her number. And so we wrote all the stories. We did everything ourselves. And 11 years later, I'm just really glad to see the support from around the country, that people have taken ownership of G-Sport. And the more they tell stories, they realize that they can build their personal brands.
Are you a person who makes plans, or do you walk along and the door opens?
I live in the moment. I'm very present. but I like planning to make sure, as a good Capricorn, that all my surprises are planned and I'm ready when things happen. But I'm a mom of threes, and I'm very aware that certain times I can't go on tour, or I've got to miss something because it's Ella's concert, or Danny needs something from a cricket perspective. So I try to live my life in harmony. And at any different stage in my life, something will take precedence over the other. And it very much depends on what's the most important at the time.
How do you strive for that harmony? What do you do? Do you do yoga? Do you do meditation?
None of that. I have absolutely no time. My exercise is running after Luke, who's just about to turn 3. That's about as good as it gets. I'm happy to fall off the bike. I think that's how I find harmony. I think when you try so hard to stay on, you will fall and you won't accept it. I accept what happens because I think it's important that we don't know how things should be. Also, working in a male-dominated environment, there are different challenges at different parts of the year, different times of the year. So I love being a mom. I come home, I cook a curry, I bake bread. After a test match, I just want to get back to being me.
How did you meet your husband? You've been together what?
We've been, hang on. We've been together 18.
18 years?
Yeah, we've been married 12 years.
How did you meet him? How did you know he was the one?
He was my brother's friend. They were both extremely annoying. I was an art student and they would be in the lounge just annoying me. And we became friends in 96, started dating in 98 with absolutely no interest in getting married or having children, which was great for me because I just wanted to be a commentator and he was cool with that. We moved to Johannesburg and at some stage we thought, let's just get married. Because, you know, our parents are looking at us with that, what are they actually doing? Is this something that's going to happen? So we got married in 2004 and...
First tell me why it works.
It works because we love each other and we really support each other. And there's an element of it's okay. That
acceptance.
If something happens, it's okay. We're learning together. We parent together. So from the first child I had, I tried to have a water birth from the first baby, and it didn't happen until the third, but Rake was there every step of the way. We went to antenatal classes all 3 times. He was ready to deliver all 3 children. So we work so well together. We finish each other's sentences. We are just made for each other, I think.
And the kids, how did they change your life? You said in the beginning you didn't plan to have one child even, never mind 3.
When I decided to leave commentary to become a mom, I realized I was 29 and things were happening very quickly. And I needed to just calm down. And I thought I didn't really want to be a 55-year-old commentator wishing she had had kids. So after we had the first child...
so that was a conscious decision?
Very much so.
You left your career?
It was a hard thing to do.
Yes.
Wow, it was the hardest thing I've done in my life. Is the greatest thing you've wanted all your life to walk away from it. But now I've realized if you love something that much, you can leave it. You're not leaving it forever.
Oh.
You can leave it. If it's meant to come back to you, it will. So I took 8 years off from the game. I had 3 children, and they've been amazing. My biggest learnings, teachers, everything that I know about myself right now has come from what I learned from them.
Why do you say that?
Because they're free with love, they're free with everything, and they're right here. They don't think about things, they don't worry. They just want to be happy. They love life. So I'm a net bowler at home. At least I'm not the umpire because Danny smacks that ball. So I bowl a lot at home. I make Elsa plats for Ella. You know, there are things that I never thought I would do. And the softer I become, the more focused I become. I feel that I don't have anything to prove, not to them at all. So 8 years later, I'm back at the SABC and I got an opportunity to host cricket again, my 4th Cricket World Cup. And I asked them, well, why? Why am I back? And I said, well, why? We still think you're fresh. And I thought that was great. I thought
That's a wonderful compliment.
It was I expected someone to take my chair. And I wanted someone to, because I thought that...
Well, someone was in that chair for 8 years. So
someone was
or
in
different
that chair.
someones.
Yes.
Yes.
And so when I sat in that chair in 2015 for the World Cup, it was for the first time ever I felt so confident, and I felt like I belonged. I remember coming home after the first game, I said to Rick, I'm loving it. And it was such a great feeling, because to have done it for such a long time, and I always go, my journey goes back to the age of 14. So that's how long I feel I've done it. I'm 38 now. I should be bored, right? I should be tired of it. I'm not. I get excited all the time. So Daniel's the commentator while I cook, and he said, there's a wicket. Oh, Mom, it's Fuff. And then we got to get to the lounge, and he tells me exactly what's happened. So that's how I'm trying to teach him, that if he can tell me what happened when he's playing the game, he will know what to do. So it's just, I absolutely love my life.
That is such a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
So tell me about the home that you make this life in. Where is it? How did you choose it?
We live in Killarney. We live in a lovely flat there. It's a great lock up and go. I sometimes come home at midnight, at 2 in the morning. It's a great community. When we moved in there, we were some of the youngest people, and now there are lots of young families. So we're often in the park. We often play there. We hike. We're outdoorsy people, but we also watch a lot of sport. It's pretty much what we do. Formula One, cricket, rugby, everything that's on TV, we watch.
So what made you choose that home?
Well, when we were looking a long time ago, and we've had this home for over a decade, it was just the nicest area. Old buildings, high ceilings, and between 3 and 5, everybody sleeps. It's really nice. It's quiet. And then the first few months, we kind of looked at each other like, why is this place so quiet? Then we realized they had like these curfews. People didn't swim at that time. So it's just a lovely,
siesta.
I love it. It's a great village atmosphere. And we stayed for a few years in Sandton, and I didn't like it at all, because I felt like I stayed where I worked. And in Killarney, it's just a lovely, gentle, it's kind of gentle lifestyle.
Is there something physical that you take to wherever you live? A picture that you hang up first, or a bookcase that you set up, or something? No, in your case, it won't be books.
Probably photos.
Oh.
I love photos. I love the photos of our family, and we've got many around the house. Interesting enough, we have one of Daniel and Rake and I. It was our first portrait, and Luke insists it's him. And the other day I had to take him across and show him a whole lot of pictures that led up to that picture, to show him it was Daniel. And now he reminds me, actually, it's Daniel, it's not me. I love photos. I think it just reminds us of the most incredible moments of our lives, particularly the birth photos, the time when the kids were born. It's very special.
Kass, thank you so much, and all of the very best.
Thank you
It's
so
so good
much.
to get to know you.
Lovely to be with you. Thank you.
Until next time, go well.